Mr. President, how are you, sir? It's an honor to see you. Wave to the fake news media.
Hello, folks.
It's great to see you. How are you?
Nice to see you.
You want to sit? You want to stand? What do you want to
do? Stand.
First,
where's your camera? Tell me. Right here? Okay.
Yeah, you can look right there. First, you can thank Laura Ingraham, who's given us extra Hannity time tonight.
Well, she's very special, and she's doing well.
You know what? She's doing well. She's a big supporter of yours. But what do you make of where the Kavanaugh hearings are now? There's a new set of demands that have come out.
I think it's a very sad situation. He's an outstanding person. And frankly, Sean, to see what's going on is just very, very sad. You say, why didn't somebody call the FBI 36 years ago? I mean, you could also say, when did this all happen? What's going on? To take a man like this and besmirch. Now, with that being said, let her have her say, and let's see how it all works out. But I don't think you can delay it any longer. They've delayed it a week already. And
you've been very accommodating.
I have been accommodating. I say, let her say what she has to say, and let's see how it all comes out. But they've delayed it a week, and they have to get on with it.
Yeah. Mr. President, thank you. And
thank you.
Can you thank Laura again? She's probably going to be mad at me.
Laura, I love your show. I watch it all the time. And you know what? You are special. You really are. It's a good combination.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know this crowd. You ready to hear the president? Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. All right, I have emphasized this over and over again. By the way, welcome to Vegas. The decades-old assault charges, this is 36 years ago, against Professor Christine Ford. She's making allegations against Judge Kavanaugh. Of course, they must be taken seriously. Her story deserves to be told. And Republicans and President Trump, they have been treating this situation with the pure seriousness that it deserves. Now, the Judiciary Committee chairman, Senator Grassley of Iowa, Senate Republicans, they've been doing everything they can do to accommodate Professor Ford. They have reopened the hearings. They've invited the professor to appear before Congress. They have offered a public hearing. They have offered a private hearing. They have reached out by phone, email, and more for background. They even offered to fly Senate staff anywhere within the United States to meet Ford for a private interview. So far, Professor Ford, her left-wing lawyer, have not agreed to any of this. And according to an email obtained by the Washington Post, she definitely will not appear before the committee on Monday, but may be open to a later date if the Senate agrees to her terms. We're going to watch this unfold. Now, meanwhile, Judge Kavanaugh, well, he's already testified, by the way, under threat of perjury. He's agreed to testify wherever, whenever, under oath, in front of you, the American people. In fact, he's agreed to testify this coming Monday. But Democrats don't seem to care. They have thrown a principle we hold so dear, due process, the presumption of innocence, out the window. They've already convicted Kavanaugh based on one allegation. And according to them and the mob rule by which many on the left are governed, Kavanaugh is guilty just by an accusation. This is dangerous for every American. And according to Politico, a well-known Democratic operative is now advising Professor Ford. We know that her attorney is very inconsistent on this issue. She went after Paula Jones. She supported Al Franken. Senator Feinstein is claiming that the media somehow outed Professor Ford with information that only Feinstein and her fellow Democrats had access to. I don't believe them. They're the only ones that had the information. And Senate Democrats won't even show Senate Republicans since July the unredacted letter where Ford makes her first allegations. Why won't they allow the Republicans to see this? This to them is now some sort of political game, and it's not. These are real lives in play here. Democrats, they don't want to confirm Judge Kavanaugh. They never wanted him to be confirmed. We saw how they acted during the hearings. We see how they're acting now. Now, this is why every American has a right to be skeptical tonight. We know the Democratic Party. We know their track record on claims of sexual misconduct. It is beyond suspect.
Well, Judge Kavanaugh went to Georgetown Prep. Christine Blasey Ford went to Holton Arms. Both are elite Washington, D.C. area prep schools. Tonight, some alumna of Blasey Ford's alma mater are circulating a letter with 1,000 signatures so far. It says what Ford is alleging, quote, is all too consistent with stories we heard and lived while attending Holton. Many of us are survivors ourselves. Some of those classmates appeared with Democrats today.
We believe Dr. Blasey Ford, and we are so grateful to her for coming forward and sharing her story. Sexual assault is a problem across America, and women need to be heard and they need to be believed. And we are so in awe of Dr. Blasey Ford's courageousness. The community stands with her. That is why we put this letter together.
I hope that Dr. Christine Blasey Ford gets the message that we have her back.
So against those optics, what do Republicans do? Stick to Monday or give Blasey Ford more time? Nan Arendt is president for the Alliance for Justice. Guy Benson is the political editor of townhall.com and co-host of Benson and Harf on Fox News Radio. Welcome to you both. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to read through a little bit of what we've gathered tonight about the conditions that her team is setting. There are others, but these we've confirmed. No lawyers can ask questions. Only questions can come from committee members. Brett Kavanaugh cannot be in the room, and Kavanaugh must go first. Nan, I didn't practice for many years, but for enough that I've never seen the defense go first.
Well, I think it's really too early to say what's going to actually transpire. I will say, as we just saw from that clip, that every woman in America will be looking at how this is handled and how it unfolds. It's clear that she is serious, has a credible allegation. It's important that she talk about it. And after all, Brett Kavanaugh has no right to a seat on the Supreme Court. No one does. It's a privilege, and he will have to show at this hearing that he really is capable and fit to sit on the highest court.
He sounds eager to do that.
He's got the burden. I mean, not her. He has the burden.
Okay, we can debate that. This is not a trial in the sense of a criminal trial. I mean, this is a Senate hearing. He has said, and he's done his sworn testimony this week, he says he's happy to come back and he's looking forward to it. But I want to read you something that our own Chris Stirewalt put in the halftime report today. He said Republicans have to bend over backwards to accommodate Ford. They mustn't be bullies. If Kavanaugh's innocent, better to allow some Democrats to make themselves ridiculous as Republicans follow the process to the end. What do you say?
Yeah, I think by and large, if the requests are reasonable, they can accommodate many of them. For example, if her lawyers want this to happen on Wednesday instead of Monday, fine. Monday, to me, is not some sacrosanct day. If they have certain questions about who will ask certain questions, I think having Mark Judge potentially brought up and questioned, I think, is a reasonable thing for them to ask. It's not reasonable to try to dictate who is allowed to ask questions. It's not reasonable to say we want to go second and make our allegation after the defense goes first. The FBI investigation thing seems to have been dropped even by them, which I think is positive. But I just want to go back, Nan, I really don't think that it's fair to say that the burden is on Brett Kavanaugh to prove a non-falsifiable claim with no corroborating evidence from the time. Anyone can hurl an allegation. I think it's a serious allegation. I have no idea if she's telling the truth or not, and neither do you. None of us know. I think it's a dangerous standard to say that the accused has the burden of proof to disprove their guilt, because how could he do that to your satisfaction?
Yeah, and let me read something that David French wrote to that point on National Review Online. He says, Ford's team has behaved as if she doesn't have to prove her case and as if the very request that she do so is itself fundamentally oppressive. She submitted her unsworn claim and then immediately gone into a defensive crouch, with allies such as New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand even claiming that having her testify at a Senate hearing would somehow silence her. Nan?
Oh, first of all, she does have a very credible claim. And it's clear that she's been living with this, haunted by it, for most of her life. There's evidence to that effect. Her husband's talked about it. She talked about it in therapy. This is very real. She will, if this goes ahead, present her case, and I'm sure she'll present it well. It's Brett Kavanaugh who has to show the American people, and it's the Senate that's going to be put to the test as to whether or not it can fulfill its advice and consent responsibility. You know, it's interesting. This, just from the very beginning of this nomination, Republicans have railroaded Brett Kavanaugh through the Senate, and their mission here, well, it's easy to say.
Well, if you look
they've
at strict
withheld
facts,
documents.
The facts, though, the timeline is very much the same as what we saw for several other recent justices: Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Kagan, excuse me, and Sotomayor.
Much more time at the White House, federal government. And after all, what did this administration do? Withheld 100,000 pages of documents based on executive privilege, just like Donald Trump's taxes. It withheld 93% of Brett Kavanaugh's record.
Well, no,
it hid them from the public.
That includes a lot of documents that he did not write, right? So that's not really his
these
record.
were emails, memos.
But
if
his name was on the email, they wanted to see it. I mean, that was part of it. I want to play something else that Senator Blasey Ford said today about this.
This is not fair. I'm counting on the members of the press to point out that this is a fast track. They are totally intent on getting Judge Kavanaugh onto the Supreme Court, come hell or high water.
And, Guy, that's to Nan's point.
Well, Hirono also talked about defeating Kavanaugh and holding the seat open for 2 years, which is sort of giving away the game of what some of the intentions seem to be here. This is not an unfair process. The president won the election, nominated this man. It's been, as you said, a similar time horizon to similarly situated nominees in recent history. And you know, I'm sorry, it must be said, Dianne Feinstein, the ranking member of that committee on the Democratic side, had this information for almost 2 months and sat on it, and then it just happens to leak out after the hearings and the week before the vote. I mean,
and as we've said, that tends to do a disservice to the accuser as well, because now people immediately question this when they see it coming out as time.
It's unfair to Dr. Ford.
So we got to leave it there. But I hope you'll both come back, because I have a feeling this is not over in the next 24 to 48 hours. Nan and Guy, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Sure.